So I really don't know how to start this video, but hi. So today we're going to talk about A-Levels business. And let me flex a little. I got the Cambridge Outstanding Learners Award for my business A-Levels business for obtaining the highest mark in Malaysia. So now that I have that out of the way, let's just dive into it. I really don't know how to... Okay, I'm sorry if I'm acting weird right now and if I look ghostly. I do. I can see that I do. Because it's currently 12:30 a.m. I have my reasons. I have my reasons why I'm filming at this time. Largely because I was procrastinating. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about A-Levels business. So just starting off, my general advice for business is just thoroughly understand each chapter. Remember the facts, the factors, the advantages and disadvantages, theories, the math formulas, and perhaps most importantly, the definition of keywords. So if you watched my last video on A-Levels law advice, I compiled past papers questions in a list, and today you will see that I really like compiling things, or rather, my study partner really likes to compile things, which is really a genius move. So my study partner came up with the idea to compile all of the definitions of important keywords in the business into a document. Now you might be thinking of like, hey, you have the glossary section behind your textbook, why don't you just use that? That's actually because there's a lot of keywords that in exams they often ask, but it's not in the glossary. They are definitions hidden in your chapters itself. So yes, we actually segregated the job, did half of the alphabetical order from A to Z. We split it into half. We were responsible for each half, and then we went through every single chapter to compile all of these definitions. It was very helpful. This booklet of definitions was very helpful. So if you can find study partners to do this together, I highly recommend you to do so. It is very helpful. That's probably the fourth time I said that word. And then of course, after all of those work, you should practice a lot of past paper questions. And I don't know if it's the same for every college, but for me, my experience was that my lecturer basically used 80% of the time to make us do past paper questions, and that really helped. I actually also do a lot of practices outside of the assignments or homeworks given by my lecturer, because I realized that checking the mark scheme by yourself sometimes is even better, because sometimes lecturer would just tell you, oh, in this question you didn't write about this, you didn't write about that. You kind of just like, oh, okay, and you add it into your answer, but then you don't really process like, why is it that I always lose out something? What is the aspect that I'm losing out? But when you look at the mark scheme, there are actually categories within an answer that you should fulfill. Checking in the mark scheme yourself makes you realize what aspect or what category do you always lose out of, and so that the next time when you're doing questions, you will be more aware of, oh, right, I have to remember to do this, instead of just writing simple answers like how I always did. So after that general advice, now let's talk about AS, exam format first. For paper 1 of AS level business, you have 1 hour and 15 minutes to finish the paper. And in the paper, there's section A and there's section B. So section A consists of a lot of questions asking you for the definition of keywords. Most of the questions in section A would require you to give a definition for the keyword before doing something else. So for questions that only give you 2 marks, you can just simply define the keyword. But always remember that the keywords should always be defined really well. A way of making sure that you're not losing out marks is to make sure that your definition isn't vague enough to be able to define another word as well. And another way to make sure that your answers for 2 marks questions would be accurate is to do a lot of past paper questions, and there's always this keywords that is repeatedly asked for definition of, and you'll see that, oh, they always want me to talk about this and also this. Most of the keywords, they actually have 2 elements that you should state as the definition to get the full 2 marks. And for 3 marks questions, just in case, always list 2 answers to the questions coupled with their examples. For example, if they're asking why is this important, you give 2 reasons reasons, and then each of the reason has its own example, so that you can be sure that you get all 3 marks. And also, like I said, if you can give a definition before doing all of those reasoning and example giving. And then there's the questions that gives you 5 marks. So similar to 3 marks questions, also give a definition for any keywords that you see, and then give your answers to the question, for example, reasons or factors, and then couple it with examples. I would recommend to give 3 to 4 answers to the questions because you are wanting 5 marks. Don't be lazy. You actually have a lot of time to write in business papers, especially paper 1. You can finish really quickly. So just write as much as you can to make sure that you get the full marks. And then we move on to section B. Section B, there are 2 kinds of questions. The first kind is that it will be split into 2 questions within 1 question, where one of the questions would worth 8 marks, another 12 marks. And then there is the second type of question where it is a whole 20-mark questions. So basically you're writing a whole essay on one topic. So there are set criteria for your answering, and those criteria are knowledge, application, analysis, evaluation. There are 4 types. And for all of the questions, you have to fulfill the criteria of knowledge, application, and analysis. So what is each of these criteria? So the first one, knowledge or understanding, is basically you defining keywords that you see in the questions. You're just showing that, oh, I know what the question is asking about. I know what these words in the questions mean. And just find the keywords that you know you've seen the explanation or definition of it in your business textbook. Or instead of keywords, the question might be talking about a theory or a concept, then you have to explain what's the theory about. And then the second criteria of application, it is like your section A where you have to give your reasoning and then your examples. So that is ultimately what application is about, is showing that after understanding what the question is asking about, you know how to apply the things that are talked about in the questions. So just be very specific with your example to showcase how you can apply this knowledge in a real business world. And then the third criteria, analysis, is basically analyzing the pros and cons of something, or your with and against of a choice or a business decision. So pros and cons is very straightforward. Just talk about what this thing is. Maybe it is a theory, and then say what is this theory good for, what is this theory bad for. And then with and against, you can show it like, in this kind of scenario this theory would apply, but in this scenario this theory couldn't be applied because it would be against the benefits of the company. And then for questions that gives you 12 or 20 marks, then they would ask for evaluation. So what is evaluation? Evaluation is mostly like the question might have been very specific with a scenario, like maybe they have given you some characteristic of the company, or they have given you a situation and the details of it. Then the evaluation part would be to properly apply it to the case given, and to also give other kinds of options or opinion that you have, any kind of it, to show that you have a full understanding of every single aspect of the topic. So for example, like the marketing mix, there's the product, there's the place, there's the promotion, there's the price, and maybe they're talking about the importance of promotion for this product in this company. And then maybe you can give your opinion. I think that more budget should be allocated to place instead because of the characteristic of this product and target market group, or things like that. Just kind of imagine yourself to be in a meeting with your business partners trying to make a business decision, and they're saying that, okay, I think it's like this, and then you just kind of throw in anything that you know. You're just trying your best to give a very all-rounded evaluation of the decision you're trying to make. Just remember that every single thing that you're throwing out, it has to be relevant to the topic you're discussing. The extra opinion or the extra aspects that you're going to be talking about should contrast your view or support your view, or you can give something that would be an alternative solution for this problem. If the question is talking about problem and it's talking about a certain way to solve this problem, you can say that, oh, but I think this solution could be considered as well. So that is how you get marks for evaluating the question. And then we move on to AS paper 2. So you have 1 hour and 30 minutes to answer paper 2, and you should answer all of the questions in paper 2. So in paper 2 questions, they would ask for different things, and among those there's always definition. So a definition of a certain keyword, they'll just ask you straightforwardly. If the marks is 2 marks, maybe just define very thoroughly and then give an example. If the question's giving you 3 marks, define, example, and then maybe show how you really understand how this could apply. Always proportionate your answer with the marks given. So if it's 2 marks, you can write literally 1 sentence and you could get the full marks. Be smart with how you answer though. If it's 3 marks, maybe you need to throw in another sentence. And then in paper 2, there's a lot of questions asking for calculations. They're mostly in paper 2 as well. I seldom see, maybe never seen any calculation questions in paper 1. I don't know, it's been half a year, maybe my memory has rusted and I remembered the wrong thing, but from my memory there's no calculation questions in paper 1. So for calculation questions, when you look at the mark scheme, you know that they always want the right steps, the right formula. So according to my lecturer, it is best for you to first write out what the formula looks like before actually putting in the number. And then there will be a lot of questions asking you to analyze the case given and give an answer. So in this kind of questions, you just have to give definitions to keywords, apply knowledge that you know to the question, analyze anything that has 2 sides, and then evaluate, like how I explained that you should do in paper 1. So for A2, there's only 1 paper for business, but it takes 3 hours to answer, so it's basically the same. In the insert paper, they will be talking about maybe what kind of problem is the company facing, or they would just explain what is the current situation for the company or for a certain person. And then in most cases, the company or the person is trying to make a decision, and they will show you 2 options, and then there will be some kind of situation surrounding the company that might affect your decision making process. And then there would probably be a table showing you the comparison between the 2 options, the pros and cons, or the different outcomes for each of the decision. And then if the question is the kind that asks for a lot of calculation, then there will be probably 1 or 2 appendix or like tables showing you the financial state of the company in some form of account document. Or if it's not a question asking for calculations, they would give you some of the aspects of the characteristics of the company. For example, maybe they would give you a SWOT analysis of the company. So there are 4 types of questions, or you can also call them categories of questions in paper 3. The first type of question, which mostly gives you less marks, is the calculation questions. So obviously for this kind of questions, you have to remember very well what the formulas are like, or how you draw certain graphs to calculate something, decision tree thing. Oh my god, nightmares. So that's first type of question. The second type of question would require you to show that you have knowledge of a certain topic, or applying the knowledge into the scenario in the insert given, and then you will always be required to analyze your decision or analyze what you're talking about, the pros and cons, the with and against. And then question type 3, which is always more marks than question 2, they would also want you to evaluate. So like what I said in paper 1 of AS, evaluation is all about being very specific with each of the element talked about in the question. And then there's the 4th type of question. There will be an additional category here, which is the identification and understanding category. So there's actually a really blur line between the knowledge criteria and the identification / understanding criteria. I don't really know how to differentiate that, but just be smart, try to elaborate on anything that you can. So I think we're pretty much done here with understanding the exam format. To give you a really condensed takeaway of how to answer exam questions is to know your formulas, know your definitions, answer proportionately according to the marks given. And yeah, that's basically it. There's just 3 things that you have to keep in mind. And then let's talk about how I studied a little. So just now I've shown you this compilation of definitions, and actually formulas are in here as well. So I find this booklet that we've compiled to be very helpful. If you can, please do it, but I know that it takes up quite some time, so definitely find someone to do it with you. I actually do not know if I would have survived A-levels without my study partner. Okay, guys, real talk here, real talk. A-levels, and most probably university as well, I'm not sure about that, but like A-levels, find a study partner. It was so helpful for me. I swear to God, it was so helpful. We segregated so many work and was so efficient in things like this that ultimately brings a lot of benefits to us. I think I would have died in A-levels without my study partner. Knowing how to answer is so important, but at the same time, put a lot of effort into understanding each of the chapter thoroughly so that you can actually utilize the way to answer exam questions. Try your best to not give up on any formulas or any definitions. They're so fundamental, they're so important, and just remember to seriously just do a lot of past paper questions and always go the extra mile in looking into the answers and seeing what the examiners value in an answer. Sometimes you just really know your shit, but you don't know how to show that you know your shit. So understanding the exam format is exactly the way for you to know how to show that you know your shit. It's just really important, guys. It's really important. It's like you could be the smartest person in the whole world, you know everything, but then you're thrown with this exam paper, you answer it your way, but it isn't what they want, then you don't get the full marks. If you're studying any other subject that I'm not giving advice for, just know that it's probably the same for your other subjects. It's very important for you to understand the exam format, blah blah blah. So yeah, I think that marks the end of this video. As usual, I hope this video was helpful for you. So other than that, if you found this video helpful, maybe give me a like. If you like my videos, maybe subscribe. I didn't realize all of that rhymed. Oh my god, I'm a rapper! Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye! Bye!